Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you knew this, but GameStop makes card sleeves. Well, at least they sell card sleeves. These are made by Atrix, and I picked them up at a local GameStop that I was in, showing my kids around, because they didn't know what GameStop was in the mall. I saw these and I thought to myself, that is incredible. $5.50 for 100 double matte sleeves. You can't go wrong at that price. I mean, let's be honest, this is a steal of a deal. I have no clue if these are good. I looked it up. There's not a ton of reviews on these or discussion on these card sleeves, and I don't know what Atrix is. So let's crack these open and find out for ourselves. Alright, so they're held down on the side by a piece of tape. One piece of tape on one side, and I would imagine there's another one. Yeah, there's another one on this side. Okay, so newsflash, they aren't held in by tape. The corners are just taped down. So this is just a plastic casing. I am probably smarter than this. I'm probably more intelligent than this, but you know what today? The answer is no. So we're just going to cut the bottom, and we're just going to pop these open and take a look at them. Oh, geez, I cut all the way through. Oh, yeah, that's probably a good thing. All the way to the box. So let's just slide these out and take a look at the inner packaging. By the way, if you didn't notice, this entire packaging, I mean, it's not bad looking. It's probably pretty easy and cheap to make. Let's give it a shot. See what these things are like. Again, 100 card sleeves, acid-free. What do they feel like? Okay, so the texture here, it's not Dragon Shield matte. It's not quite orange peel. It's finer than that. I don't know if you can see. You can see the texturing. So like if you compare this to a Dragon Shield matte sleeve, let me get one of those. So here's a Dragon Shield matte sleeve, and this is, I used a color that we can more easily see. The texture's pretty close to similar, but it's not quite. This is smoother. This has less texture to it. This is more textured. You can actually see the texture in the camera there, whereas this, and again it is black, so it is a little harder to see, is a lot finer. It does feel a little bit more smooth, but it's not quite to the degree of like a brushed art sleeve, which has a different texture completely. Two of these put together move pretty well. They move pretty well, I'd say. That feels fine. Let's put some cards into these. All right, so the fit here is not too bad at all. It reminds me of an Ultra Pro card sleeve in general, with the less, you know, like length on top. Like when you put a card into a Dragon Shield, for example, the card itself will ride down further, and then there will be a bigger lip on top. This is kind of like you know, an Ultra Pro, how it has this little like downward fit, and I think we can compare this as well to some Katana sleeves. Is not too far off either, if I remember correctly, because Katana sleeves do allow the card to sit lower in general as well. But if you were comparing all three of these, there's the Dragon Shield, which sits probably the lowest. Then you have the Katana sleeves that we're looking at, and then this is probably most like an Ultra Pro, where the card is just barely in. Well, not barely. There's a bit of a buffer. Overall, though, it's not terrible. It's not bad. Let's put a couple of them into a card sleeve, run them against each other. Again, this is testing the texture on the back. Yeah, overall, this feels fine. I mean, I'm kind of surprised. I didn't know what I was going to experience, what to expect, really, but overall, that's not a bad feel. Have we been doing it wrong this whole time? Should we just be buying these Atrix card sleeves? I mean, they're not terrible so far. Okay, I'm going to sleeve up a deck in this, and we're going to see how that deck feels to shuffle. Okay, so as I sleeved up this Blitz deck, I did start to see a few things that give me pause. First thing I saw is that, well, there's this bumpy pattern at the bottom of every one of these card sleeves, which, I mean, you don't see on any other sleeve, or at least I haven't seen on any other sleeve before, and it just makes me worry that the seal on these edges is not exactly tough, we'll put it that way. I do also notice this, and we may see it on some of these. The sleeves here, they don't sit flat. Like if I do that, you can see how it kind of pulls, and then some of these side sleeves are like physically raised higher than the other portions. Like they come up and like out and up, which is not great. So there are a couple of things that are leaving me questioning whether or not these are the best possible sleeves you could buy, and we're really just needing to buy these instead of anything else. I will say this. Overall shuffle feel for these sleeves is surprisingly good. Like, you probably can't hear much crunching or popping because it's not happening. The sleeves feel surprisingly easy to shuffle and smooth, which I was not expecting, but it makes sense because this backing is fairly slick, and overall the texturing is minimal. It's like it's a very fine texture, so that is interesting. The corners here poke you like crazy. These are the sharpest corners I have ever felt on a card sleeve. It is you could go like that and stab yourself, and I don't recommend it. You should not do that, but you can definitely feel it. But I am wondering how thick these things are. Like, when you take a sleeve by itself, one of these sleeves by themselves, this honestly feels closer to a penny sleeve than it does, like, I don't know, a regular sleeve. Like, that is a very thin back. And I would imagine if there's any other color that this is ever printed in, you would be able to see through that, because that is incredibly thin. The front is about what you would expect, like this piece of clear plastic, exactly what you would expect. But comparing this to, like, here's a dual mat, which is a really good product by Dragon Shield. This is like much thicker. That backing is so much thicker. And of course, I mean, even if we compare this to not a dual mat, if I just grab, like, let's see, that's a dual mat, that's a dual mat, these right here. This golden one is not a dual mat. So if I just grab that golden one, how different does this feel towards the other? Oh yeah, that feels way thicker. Dragon Shields do have thick backings, but this, incredibly thin. And it feels kind of like a penny sleeve. I think that's the way to best describe this. If you know, like, if you took a penny sleeve and you added this texturing and maybe added a tiny bit more layers, a few more layers. All right, let's pull it apart. Let's see how quickly we can pop the seams. Oh no, I was about to say it was holding, but no, I applied a little bit more pressure and it popped pretty easily. And you can see that seam is pretty thin, actually. It's a pretty thin seam overall. Now, when I did sleeve this deck up, I was not being gentle on purpose sleeving. Wow, that's not terrible, though. I was not being gentle as far as sleeving this up. Oh, down at the bottom, it feels a lot more sturdy. But I didn't run into any issues where I split a sleeve. I've actually almost never run into an issue where I've split a sleeve, but it's always worth considering. But there are a few things, like I mentioned, these raised edges, and like you can kind of see that feeling of that pop. And then a couple of inconsistencies, like some of these have that bump, and that bump is strange and noticeable. I will say this, I am quite partial to the low profile of the extra sleeve sticking out. I am quite partial to that. So, like, all of the extra that you get from certain cards, card sleeves, I'm not crazy about it, especially when you shuffle it over and over again. But I do also think that if you bump this like a little bit, or if the deck kind of jostles around on these shorter ones, sometimes you get the issue where they start to come out. Like, if I go like that, they all like rise right to the top. But then again, I don't think you should ever be doing that to your card sleeves. I'm kind of surprised, though. Like, I feel like these are actually not a bad product to pick up if you wanted to ship out in them. I would say that I probably wouldn't, like, take these to a tournament, sleeve them up, and, like, play your deck in this, though they do feel good. This backing texture does allow these cards to slide relatively easily, as you can see, but I don't know if I would trust the consistency of these sleeves, because some of the edges, like I said, look raised. Like, I can see that one's heavily raised, so you could very easily see someone calling, like, tampering on it. Like, this side is raised, that side is raised. I don't know why. It's not that way for all of the sleeves, just for some of them, which is peculiar. But you know what? These are $5. For $5, is it worth just going for? I don't know. I'll let you be the judge. I will say I'm not going to actively seek out and purchase these $5 GameStop sleeves for myself, but I will use the ones that I did buy and I will probably ship out some stuff in them. They probably look okay in a binder too. Like basically, if you use penny sleeves or perfect fits to sleeve up your cards in your collection, these might be a good alternative to that. Something that feels similar overall, but has a little bit more protection, perhaps. So overall, I'm not hating them. I was expecting to hate them, and I found some good stuff about these. Like they do actually feel good shuffling. Overall, I do like the shape of them and like the amount that they hold the card. They do seem a little inconsistent, and they are pretty easy to pull apart, so that means you could probably pop one with a card if you're not careful while sleeving a deck. But you know what? You could go to GameStop, and you could just straight up pick up some card sleeves if you wanted to, which is kind of crazy. If you enjoyed this video, if you want to buy this product, let me know in a comment below. Tell me what you think about these sleeves. I am thoroughly curious to know your opinions on these. Do you think they're worth half the price of like a Dragon Shield set of 100 sleeves, or do you just stick with like Dragon Shield or Ultra Pro, or maybe you go Katanas? Let me know in a comment below. If you enjoyed this, you can make a number go slightly higher. That's amazing. As always, thanks for watching.